Welcome back to Philosophy Unpacked. Today we're diving into a really profound chapter from Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra, titled The Bestowing Virtue.
That sounds fascinating. I know Zarathustra's journey is central to the book. What's the context for this particular section we're exploring today?
Well, Zarathustra is leaving a town he was fond of, and his disciples are following him. But at a crossroad, he tells them he must now continue his journey alone.
So it's a moment of departure. But I see they give him a gift, a staff with a serpent twined around the sun on its handle. That sounds very symbolic.
Exactly. This gift becomes the catalyst for the entire discourse. Zarathustra uses it to teach his disciples about what he calls the highest virtue.
And what is this highest virtue? How does he introduce this big idea to his followers after they've just given him this symbolic gift?
He starts with a powerful analogy using gold. He asks them, how did gold come to have the highest value? It's a brilliant way to frame the conversation.
That is a great question. So what's his answer? Why is gold so valuable in his eyes? And how does that relate to virtue?
He says gold is valuable because it's uncommon, it's unprofiting, it's beaming with light, and it has a soft luster. Most importantly, it always bestows itself.
I understand uncommon and beaming, but what does he mean by unprofiting and it always bestows itself? That part seems a bit abstract.
By unprofiting, he means it doesn't need to take anything. It's self-sufficient, and bestowing itself refers to how it gives its light and value freely without asking for anything in return.
Ah, I see. So the highest virtue, like gold, is something that gives of itself generously and without any need for personal gain. It's a giving virtue.
Precisely. He calls it the bestowing virtue. He tells his disciples that their deep desire is to strive for this virtue, to become gifts and sacrifices themselves.
So they aren't just trying to be good people, they're striving to become sources of value that flow out into the world, much like a fountain.
That's the perfect image. He says their souls insatiably seek treasures and jewels, not to hoard them, but because their virtue is insatiable in its desire to bestow or give away.
This sounds like a very specific kind of accumulation, one that is entirely for the purpose of giving everything away again. It's almost a paradox.
It is, and this leads him to a critical distinction between two types of selfishness. The first kind he calls a healthy and holy selfishness.
That's a surprising combination of words. How can selfishness possibly be described as healthy and holy, especially in a discussion about virtue?
This healthy selfishness is the drive of the bestowing love. It must become an appropriator of all values. It gathers wealth, knowledge, and strength, but only so it can give them away.
So it's like filling up a reservoir. The goal isn't just to have a full reservoir, but to have enough water to irrigate the lands all around it.
An excellent analogy. Now he contrasts this with the second type of selfishness, which he calls the all-too-poor and hungry kind, or the sickly selfishness.
And what does that look like? I imagine it's the complete opposite of the healthy giving type we were just discussing.
It is. This sickly selfishness always wants to steal. It looks at the abundance of others with the eye of the thief and the craving of hunger.
So instead of trying to create its own value to give away, it only sees what others have and wants to take it out of a sense of lack.
Exactly. He says this craving is a sign of sickness, of invisible degeneration. It's the mindset that whispers, all for myself, which he calls a horror.
So for Zarathustra, the ultimate sign of decay or degeneration is when the giving, bestowing soul is absent and replaced by this grasping, taking impulse.
Correct. Our natural course should be upward, toward becoming more. Degeneration is the opposite. He then connects this to the body and spirit.
How does the body and spirit fit into this idea of virtue? I'm curious to see how he links these concepts together.
He says the body is a becomer and fighter throughout history, and the spirit is its companion and echo. Virtue originates when your spirit speaks in similes, in moments of elevation.
What does he mean by the origin of your virtue? Can you give some examples of what these moments of elevation feel like?
He gives several powerful examples. Virtue begins when your heart overflows like a river, when you are exalted above simple praise and blame, and when you despise easy comfort.
So it's in these moments of profound inner strength and overflowing purpose that true virtue is actually born, not from following a set of external rules.
That's the core of it. He says this new bestowing virtue is a new good and evil, a ruling thought symbolized by a golden sun with the serpent of knowledge around it.
That brings us back to the staff they gave him, the sun representing the bestowing virtue and the serpent representing the wisdom to guide it. A very powerful image.
Indeed. At this point, Zarathustra pauses, and his tone changes. This marks the beginning of the second part of his speech, and it's a powerful plea.
His voice changes? That seems significant. What is this crucial message he needs to deliver to his disciples before he leaves them?
He implores them, remain true to the earth, my brethren. He asks that their bestowing love and their knowledge be devoted to finding the meaning of the earth.
Remain true to the earth. What is he arguing against? What does he see as being untrue to the earth?
He's arguing against what he calls flown away virtue. This is any belief system that places value in some other world, an afterlife, or a spiritual realm detached from our bodies and life.
So he's critiquing traditions that devalue this life and this world in favor of a promised paradise or a non-physical existence. He wants to ground virtue here and now.
Yes, exactly. He says that for too long, spirit and virtue have flown away and blundered. He wants to lead that virtue back to the earth, back to the body and life.
He also says something about these past errors becoming embodied in us. What does it mean for an error or a delusion to become part of our body?
He means that these old ideas, both the wisdom and the madness of millennia, are not just abstract concepts. They have shaped our instincts, our culture, and even our physical being.
So we are heirs to all of human history, the good and the bad. It's like we've inherited a blueprint with flaws in it, and we're living that out.
That's a great way to put it. He says, dangerous is it to be an heir. Our task, then, is to fight against the nonsense and chaos that has ruled humanity.
And how do we fight that? What's the method Zarathustra proposes for overcoming this inherited madness and creating new meaning?
He says we must become fighters and creators. We must use our spirit and our virtue to determine the value of everything anew for the sake of the earth.
So it's an active process of reevaluation, of consciously deciding what is important and meaningful, rather than just accepting inherited values from the past.
Precisely, and this leads to another famous line, physician, heal thyself. To create new values, one must first become whole oneself.
That makes a lot of sense. You can't really help or guide others if you haven't sorted yourself out first. Leading by example is the best cure.
He says the best cure for a patient is to see with his own eyes the one who makes himself whole. It's about demonstrating the possibility of self-overcoming.
This sounds like a very individualistic and lonely path. Is this something that everyone is meant to do on their own?
Initially, yes. He speaks directly to the lonesome ones, the individuals who have separated themselves from the herd to find their own way.
And what is the promise for these lonesome ones? What is the ultimate outcome of this difficult journey of self-creation?
He promises them that they will one day become a new people, and out of this new people, a chosen people, will arise the Superman or the Übermensch.
The Übermensch. That's a concept that is often misunderstood. It's not a superhero, right? It's more of a goal for humanity.
Correct. The Übermensch is the next stage of human development, a being who has overcome the old, flawed human nature and created their own values, fully embracing life on Earth.
So the Earth itself becomes a place of healing, a place where humanity can finally overcome its past errors and create a new, healthier future.
That is the new hope he offers, a new meaning for humanity, rooted in this world. And after saying this, he pauses again as if he has one last difficult thing to say.
This must be the third and final part of his speech. After building up all this hope, what could be left to say that would be so difficult?
With another change in his voice, he says, I now go alone, my disciples. Ye also now go away and alone, so will I have it.
Wow, that's incredibly blunt. He's not just leaving them, he's commanding them to leave him and to go their own separate, lonely ways.
It gets even shocking. He then advises them, depart from me and guard yourselves against Zarathustra, and better still, be ashamed of him.
Be ashamed of him? Why on earth would he say that? He's their teacher, their inspiration. He's telling them to reject the very person who gave them this new philosophy.
He's testing them and teaching them their most important lesson. He warns that maybe he has deceived them, and that one requiteth a teacher badly if one remain merely a scholar.
So true respect for a teacher isn't blind imitation. It's about taking the lessons and then building something of your own, even if it means challenging the teacher.
Exactly. He doesn't want followers, he wants creators. He asks, "And why will ye not pluck at my wreath?" He is inviting them to challenge and surpass him.
He also warns them, take heed lest a statue crush you. Is he saying that if they venerate him too much, his own image will prevent their growth?
Precisely. If they turn him into an idol, a statue, they will be trapped in his shadow. They'll never become themselves. They'll just be pale copies.
And he says they found him before they had found themselves, so their belief in him was a kind of crutch, a substitute for their own self-discovery.
That's the heart of it. He says, so do all believers. Therefore, all belief is of so little account. The real task is not to find a savior, but to find yourself.
So his final command is the ultimate act of teaching. Now I bid you lose me and find yourselves. It's a radical call for intellectual and spiritual independence.
It is the most radical form of empowerment. He sets a condition for his return, saying, only when ye have all denied me will I return unto you.
Denied him? Does that mean they have to literally say he is wrong, or does it mean something deeper, like they have developed their own independent philosophies?
It means the latter. When they no longer need his ideas because they've forged their own, he can return not as a master, but as a friend and an equal.
He says he will love them with a different love then. The love between equals, not the love of a teacher for a student. That's incredibly powerful.
And this reunion will be to celebrate what he calls the Great Noontide. This is the final grand concept he leaves them with.
The Great Noontide. What does that represent? It sounds like a moment of peak illumination, like when the sun is at its highest point in the sky.
It is exactly that. He defines it as the moment when humanity is in the middle of its course, halfway between animal and the Übermensch.
So it's the critical turning point in our evolution as a species, a celebration of our journey toward becoming something more than we currently are.
Yes, it's the moment when the sun of his knowledge will be at noontide. It's the peak of self-awareness and creative power for humanity.
And this all culminates in one of Nietzsche's most famous and explosive declarations, doesn't it? It's the final will for this great noontide.
It is. He concludes with the monumental statement, "Dead are all the gods. Now do we desire the Superman to live." A powerful, challenging end.
So, to recap, he has taken them from understanding true virtue as giving, to grounding that virtue on earth, and finally to leaving them to find themselves to create that new world.
That's a perfect summary. It's a complete journey from discipleship to independence, all aimed at the creation of a new, earthbound meaning for humanity.
This distinction between healthy and sickly selfishness feels especially relevant today. Could you elaborate a bit more on how we might see this in our modern world?
Certainly. Healthy selfishness could be seen in an entrepreneur who builds a massive company, not just for profit, but to innovate, create jobs, and fund philanthropic causes.
So they accumulate resources and influence, the riches in their soul, as Zarathustra puts it, with the ultimate intention of a greater positive output.
Exactly. On the other hand, sickly selfishness is visible in the culture of online envy, where people tear down the successful rather than working to build their own success.
It's the person who constantly complains about what others have, seeing the world as a zero-sum game, where someone else's gain is automatically their loss.
That's a perfect modern example of the larcenous craving he talks about. It's a mindset rooted in scarcity and resentment, not abundance and giving.
And the message to physician, heal thyself, also resonates. It suggests that personal responsibility is the first step toward any kind of broader social change.
Absolutely. You can't advocate for a better world if your own life is in chaos. You must first embody the values you wish to see, becoming a living example of that healing.
It's a demanding philosophy, but also an incredibly empowering one. It places the future of meaning squarely in the hands of the individual.
That is the ultimate challenge and gift of Zarathustra's teaching. The responsibility is immense, but so is the potential for creation and a new hope for humanity.